The latter half of the 20th century has seen an explosion in reports of unidentified flying objects. The official reaction has been silence.
Why can't people talk about it? Because the Air Force knows that there was a crash saucer, there were alien bodies recovered, that there have been aircraft that have gone up to chase UFOs and have not come back. They know that we're dealing with the biggest story of the millennium.
In 1947, something had crashed near Roswell, New Mexico. A local farmer discovered the remains of some kind of craft made from a material he had never seen before. The story of a wrecked flying saucer soon spread. The military quickly counteracted these rumors by explaining it away as a crashed weather balloon, but it was too late. The Roswell incident had already changed the face of ufology. Former Apollo scientist Stanton Friedman has spent the last 20 years investigating the Roswell phenomenon.
In early July 1947, apparently 2 flying saucers, for whatever reason, crashed.
But how could starships travel successfully across space only to arrive here and crash?
They would certainly be expected to occasionally run into something that was totally unexpected. In New Mexico, it could have been 2 things that come to mind. One is powerful electrical storms, and I've been down there, hailstones this big, lightning bolts, because of the mountains and stuff. So if you're tootling right along and you've never seen these before, and suddenly, whammo, a big lightning strike, that could cause something to go wrong.
Poor atmospheric conditions is, however, not as convincing as Friedman's other theory.
Secondly, strange thing, there was a radar beam on at White Sands Missile Range.
This was an experimental radar. You see, the military airfields had the first radar, and it had a 25-mile radius, and that had a certain amount of power. Then, after the war, when we started building radar for commercial airfields, we increased it to 50 miles. Now that took the square of the power for the 25-mile radius. When we went from 50 miles to 200-mile radius, it took a fantastic amount of power.
Now, this is out in the middle of nowhere. The beam would be on because it's vacuum tubes, not transistors. You just let it sit there. So if you got a pair of saucers going along, pilot and a wingman, and they suddenly encounter this powerful radar beam, and the 2 maybe bang off each other. One crashes over here with bodies, one crashes over there with bodies. Tough luck, guys.
There were more than a dozen alien spacecraft that came down in a 3-year period of time as a result of this. Then it was taken out of commission.
If this is correct, then it would appear that extraterrestrial technology is more fallible than ufologists had previously imagined.
So I can understand that they don't have a zero defects program that's any better than ours. After all, a shuttle blew up, 747s have crashed, very sophisticated systems, and they're close to home.
In the late 1940s and early 50s, the United States were under increasing pressure to explain these strange objects as news of sightings multiplied dramatically. The public's fear was stoked not only by thoughts of aliens, but also by a fear that it might be Soviet technology entering their airspace at will.
We can say that the recent sightings are in no way connected with any secret development by any agency of the United States.
There was no question that the government was concerned, partly because there were a lot of sightings near highly classified areas. Hanford in Washington, nuclear weapons related. Oak Ridge in Tennessee, nuclear weapons related. New Mexico with White Sands Missile Range, Los Alamos National Lab, Sandia. These are most classified areas. The government was very concerned. This is nothing to be trifled with.
The US government was forced to act. It set up an investigation called Project Blue Book, which it hoped would answer these perplexing questions. US Navy physicist Dr. Bruce Maccabee has studied the history of Blue Book.
The first sighting in the Project Blue Book file is from Great Britain when a fighter chased some object that was picked up off the coast of Britain and chased it for several hundred miles. Apparently the British intelligence never did figure out what it was they were chasing.
The then Prime Minister Winston Churchill wrote to the Air Ministry and demanded to know what was going on. He received a very peculiar reply which said basically that there was nothing to worry about. That was strange because some 20% of sightings were unexplained.
So what use did Project Blue Book serve? Was it just a smokescreen for other more top-secret investigations?
It wasn't until a certain incident in Yorkshire in September of 1952 that Air Force intelligence people began to get seriously interested, and they visited Air Technical Intelligence Center at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, where headquarters of Project Blue Book were, demanding to know what was going on.
I tried during my 3-year tour of duty to establish contact with an opposite number in the United States. I made repeated attempts to do that, but consistently drew a blank. I was told that since Project Blue Book closed down in 1969, there was no official interest in this subject.
So what use did Project Blue Book serve? Was it just a smokescreen for other more top-secret investigations?
I don't think it was a smokescreen. At the same time, I don't think it was a genuine investigation in that the really sensitive reports were filtered out. The subject of flying saucers was classified 2 points higher than the hydrogen bomb, and that's going back to 1949, 1950.
Does it remain as highly classified today?
From what I've been able to gather from my sources, it is the most sensitive subject within the intelligence community.
But why the need for such sustained security today?
To try to piece out the government's involvement in UFOs is much more complex than you might think. We use the term government as an all-encompassing thing, but that's not how it works. Everything's compartmented. So what we have to understand here is that Blue Book was the cover organization. That's the one you heard about. That's the only one ever mentioned. And as recently as last year, an Air Force letter to a senator said Blue Book was it, and when we closed it, we got out of the business. In reality, a light in the sky means nothing. But if one goes buzzing down the runway at a strategic air command base where nuclear weapons are stored, which has happened, and we've got some records on that, that's of concern. I'm convinced that with the recovery of the wreckage and bodies in New Mexico in 1947, July, that Operation Majestic 12 was established officially on September 24th, 1947. An outstanding group of 12 people, 2 Army, 2 Navy, 2 Air Force, and that it's called the shots. It was accountable only to the President.
Presidents come and go, but the Majestic 12 endure. This is the mantra of many ufologists and conspiracy theorists alike. It is suspected that one of their operations centers is in the Nevada desert at Area 51, also known as Dreamland. And humans, it seems, aren't the only ones working there.